Michael. Lovely to see you for the first of our Entrepreneurs Chats. And we're going to get straight to it. So kick off with telling me who you are and what you do.
Thanks, Debbie. So I'm Dr. Michael Watts. I'm a NHS doctor by background and also the Associate CCIO for my local trust. But more recently, the co-founder and managing director of Blüm Health Limited.
That's a really interesting transition there, Michael. I mean, quite frankly, most people wouldn't have that double skill set to be able to make that transition.
Okay, so I mean, it's an interesting one because I've always been passionate about patient care. I've always been passionate about change and particularly problem solving. So for me, medicine seemed like the natural career path. But I started to take an interest. I've been working for the NHS since I was 18 years old as a healthcare assistant and later a junior doctor. And for me, I've always been interested in medical leadership and management, but I found that actually the progress that I was making wasn't aligning with my aspirations and how I wanted to achieve systemic change as opposed to patient by patient change. So for me, I found my love for technology was a way of me being able to actually bring about large scale change while still being able to have an impact on the patients that I've always wanted to have an impact on. When it comes to freedom to operate as an entrepreneur versus an intrapreneur, I think it's quite a careful balance. I think that the NHS is doing lots of great things to encourage intrapreneurship, particularly things like the Clinical Entrepreneur Programme that's run by NHS England and Professor Tony Young. But I felt that because I was so passionate about change and wanted to work at a pace that for me required a bit of a leap of faith, to actually wind down my clinical activities to be able to focus on more technology-driven ideas and innovation. That for me was quite a big risk, and I think that's something that should be encouraged to actually be able to speed up the amount of innovation that we are delivering as entrepreneurs as well as NHS intrapreneurs. I think there was a university down in London that was running a hackathon, which is essentially presenting an idea, a problem, and then working together with various skill sets. So there was medical students, doctors there was software engineers, UX designers there to actually solve that problem. And it was through those kind of events, these hackathons, these startup schools that I met one of our co-founders, James, and then our other co-founder, Micah, is literally one of my best friend's brothers. So that was again a complete chance coincidence that our paths crossed, and it was a complementary skill set to the core aims of the organization from a startup.
I've got to say, I love that phrase hackathon, and I love the concept of it, and that's really in line with the Do Good Business Collective's approach to problem solving. That sounds like a great event, and clearly you had some good outcomes from it. Thinking generally about businesses that want to use technology to enable them to scale up, that's actually quite a frightening prospect for the average person. I mean, you wouldn't even know where to start, I'm guessing, in many cases. And probably tech debt wouldn't be right at the forefront of your mind. So where would you say that people should actually start with when they are thinking about using technology or embracing technology to create change in their business? And what are the main things they should be thinking about?
So I think the key to avoiding tech debt as much as possible is by having a really experienced tech co-founder on your team, someone that understands what good architecture looks like, someone that understands what good code looks like, so that regardless of who builds the code or who actually writes the code, that person is the person that is going to be able to say, that is, a good scalable software architecture that's built the right way, and be able to orchestrate that. Because I think, it's okay to have an outsourced team. We've worked as an outsourced team many a times, but we have our own senior team that actually can guide the way that we avoid tech debt. So I think it's really important to have that tech co-founder that's going to be able to guide that effectively, ensuring that you have a CTO. And I think by not having a CTO, you do run the risk of an organization, a software development company, whether it be in the UK or offshore, running the risk of that tech debt, because they're only going to build what you ask them to build, because they don't share the vision that a CTO might share. So it's the same as the best analogy is San Francisco Bridge. You know, there's people that are paid just to paint it over and over and over again. Whereas if it was painted with a special paint that never wore, then you would never have had that problem in the first place. So that is the best analogy of tech debt, is trying to maintain something that's actually requiring resource, but not actually moving the organization forward. And that would be lost without a CTO.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. You're saying build it right first time round. Yeah. Obviously, having a CTO on your team would be the dream team. But people start their tech journey in lots of different places. It could start with an idea, and people talk about disrupting markets, or it could be that you've got an established company and service or product that you want to scale up and use tech to do it. So if you're at the beginning of that journey and you've got an idea, how would you start? Because you might not have the resources to be paying a CTO.
Yeah, no, that I totally see where you're coming from there, Debbie. I think what's important to recognize is that it's more about filling the skill gap than it is working out how to reimburse that person. So you're right. If you're a large organization that are looking to change to a digital strategy, then can afford to pay for a CTO, that's great. But in startup mode, which is what we were only a few years ago, it's about finding someone that can fill that skill gap, but also share that vision. And we were quite lucky, you know, we were very much in startup mode. We were all working free in our evenings, weekends, you know, we had other jobs, and we were very much a startup on a shoestring. And we were determined to do something that was going to have an impact. And we did that, and that gave us an opportunity. And that's when we got lucky, because luck is where determination meets opportunity, right? So we got lucky, and, you know, it was through that determination, through that shared vision, that we as a startup managed to start our trading history. So yeah, we weren't, you know, we didn't have formal roles then. You know, it was a doctor, a UX designer, and a software engineer, and now we've given ourselves formal roles, CTO, whatever that might be. So it's really about having that complementary skill set first, and formalizing that at a later stage in time, but understanding what you're hoping to achieve in the first instance and who is going to make that happen is the most important thing that any company of any size can do on the right terms.
I think your first point about shared vision is really what I take away from what you've just said, because if you haven't got shared vision, you're not going to get the right person on board. So that's really interesting to hear about your journey there, Michael. So you know a little bit about the Do Good Business Collective and our professional services, and you know a bit about our values. What I'd be really interested in is to know what feels like great professional services support to you.
I think it's really important as a startup or as an SME to surround yourself with people that understand what you're hoping to achieve. I think, you know, having legal support, you know, both corporate law and IP support, and I think that was really important to us very early on. And there was a lot of great services available to startups that you know, eradicate those sort of larger costs, and I think that's really important as well. So I think surrounding yourself with industry experts, particularly in health and allied sectors, that know the regulatory market, that know the sort of commercial market, but also know the proprietary regulation around software, hardware, and technology in general. I think that for us has been key to guiding us, keeping us moving forward really as an organization, and, you know, not stumbling at any point in time. So I think just having those go-to people has been really useful for us to just share ideas with, gain support with, and ensure that we get it right first time, not from a technical perspective, but actually from an organizational perspective as well.
I heard you mention there the importance of being able to move forward. So that sort of joined up approach to service provision has clearly been important from your perspective?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's about understanding where your skill set ends. As I'm a doctor by background, so I'm not a techie, hence why we got a technical team. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to make those key decisions that need to be made as in business, at least not on my own. So having that informed decision making and just being able to actually have a wider opportunity to think about the different ways to move forward, I think is really important. So it's understanding our limitations as founder managers and understanding what it is that we're actually hoping to achieve and who needs to support us to get to that achievement.
So talking about your professional service suppliers, in terms of technical expertise, putting that to one side, because that's a given really, what are the qualities and factors that influence you in your choice of professional service suppliers?
So I think the main things for me and for our team is really about that willingness to support. So, those people that are going to go above and beyond to actually make your life as a founder manager as easy as possible. It can be quite stressful having all of these additional requirements from a legal perspective, regulatory perspective. So someone that's, says, don't worry about it. I'll take it away. I'll come up with a bit of a plan and then I'll come back to you. For someone that is one, not an expert in that area, and two, got a lot of other things to manage with the the day-to-day of running a business, it's extremely supportive. And I think having that support and that willingness to support is always a great tick in the box. And the other thing is interest. There's a lot of people that will provide services but might not be interested in what you're actually doing. And I think that does really, as a startup owner and as someone that has come across many professional services and people, consultants, you know very quickly if someone's genuinely interested in what you're hoping to achieve. And I think that interest goes a long way, because it means that they will, get excited about what you're doing. They won't, they'll let you call them, and will answer the phone and probably won't document the 5-minute conversation at cost. It's those people that just work flexibly and genuinely are interested in what you're hoping to achieve that really are the right people to work with. So I think that's the important thing from a startup co-founder perspective.
It would be lovely to finish on a bit of a personal note. And we've had such a strange 2 years. I am wondering if there's anything that comes to mind that you say 2 things that you feel you couldn't do without.
Yeah, so I think, the pandemic has certainly reminded us how important it is to connect with family and spend time with family. From isolation to sort of lockdowns, it's been more important than ever to remind yourself that whilst day-to-day business is great, the family will always be there for you. And also personal time. I think it's important to take time out and actually spend time doing things that you love. So for example, I got 2 dogs over the pandemic. Thank God there were no more lockdowns, because I'd have ended up with more. But for me, dog walking and taking the dogs out is a great way to sort of reflect, unwind and take some time out from the roller coaster journey that is being a founder manager. So without a doubt, spending time with family and personal time and spending time with the dogs is great.
Well, that is a lovely story. And from one dog lover to another, I'm just going to say it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.